Gary,
So
here we
good
are.
to be here with you. So good to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for being here with us. This kind of thing is not what I do, so I'm not a speaker at you. I'm going to be speaking with you with Raghav. Yesterday was filled with wisdom, passion, and power. And I was really sitting with what I wanted to bring with Raghav. And just to commence, I wanted to slow things down because I don't know how much time you've had to actually be with what's been occurring within you. So that's what Raghav and I would love to do in our conversation, and have you be with us in what it's like to have a radical commitment to the present moment in the presence of what's going on inside of you every moment. Living into what's occurring with love, patience, and care for yourself, exactly the way you are. That's why I'm here. Because there's greatness and there's also the mundane, and sometimes we forget the mundane. And we think, who am I? And I'm here as just Gary. What do you say to that, Raghav?
Well, you're not just Gary. I've had the pleasure of spending a day with this guy. And I remember Matt was saying to me, Raghav, when you're with Gary, please get an agenda. So we had a phone call for an hour, and Matt calls me and says, Raghav, what's the agenda? I said, I have no idea. And he's like, didn't you have a phone call with Gary for an hour? I said, yeah, and it was amazing. It felt so nice. The same thing happened on Wednesday. We spent the day together. And at the end, Matt goes, what's the agenda? I said, I have no idea. And he said, Raghav, but you spent a whole day with Gary. I said, it was amazing. Like, I was just so in my heart. Because Gary, I love his stillness, and he brings a lot of stillness in my life. And after spending the day with Gary, I was so zen walking through London. And Matt goes, where's the agenda? I don't know, man. But we had amazing lunch. I think the lunch was the thing we remember from the day more than...
Oh, that's the whole thing. My whole life is no agenda.
Yeah.
But it's not aimless. There was this distinction. A good friend of mine, Karen Perry, who we did surf leadership retreats with, would say, Gary, you're the king of float. So float is just anything. But over the years, I've become the king of flow with a direction, with something that matters. So that time spent with Raghav, where we were asking ourselves questions like, why do you think the people have come here? What do you think it is that brought people from all over the world to be here? I'm here from Tokyo. What really, really brought you here? And we were just thinking and talking. And then we came up with really what we feel the theme is for today, in the slowing down. So this is not going to be something that's going to blow your mind, but I hope it blows your soul. And what we came up with is, within your document, which you're learning to create in your own way, even if you have one. But what Fiona and Dave are doing, they're going to be helping you to have something that you can come back to. And this portion is about how to live with your document. And one of the themes we talked about, within being, what's being swept under the rug is what we came up with.
Yeah, you know, when I was with Gary, we had a wonderful day together. It was just so prevalent, the power of what we're going to call the sweeping it under the rug distinction, because there's a lot of work, and I'm sure a number of you will relate to this. I've done a lot of different personal development, a lot of self-help, but I found I was going through a lot of my life, efforting, things were hard, things were stressful. I'd apply all the tools, all the strategies, all the actions, all the habits, the 6 a.m. club, which I'm not doing again. I did all this sort of stuff, and I never got the transformation in my life. And it was only till I realized the reason being is I was holding so much judgment internally. I was holding so much trauma. I had no idea. There was an internal dialogue that was running. I used that I think would have helped me progress in my life. But actually, judgment isn't something that helps you progress. It's your crutch. Judgment is what holds you back in your life from being every single thing you could be. So I had this conditioned dialogue I learned from childhood. You've got to do well. This is not good enough. That's not good enough. Oh, you should have done better. You didn't come first in your class, etc., to, oh my gosh, how did I do? How did this go down? So much to the point that even earlier this year, I remember Jackie, she wonderfully helped me realize the dialogue that was going on in my mind when we were together earlier this year, and Rose as well. And it was actually, I'll be honest, it was really hard realizing and waking up to, I could speak to myself like that. I could actually speak to myself and say things that are so harsh, and I had no idea. I had no clue all of that was going on. So what we're going to bring presence to today is there's power in speaking things to existence. But what gives that power is by actually internally working for yourself instead of against yourself. This is actually internally taking the greatest stand, where we're going to talk about cleaning, because when you've got a beautiful clean plate, you can pile it up with, when we have the food later, you can pile it up with whatever food you want. But if you've got it diluted with all sorts of old conditioning, that I'm not good enough. I don't know what your version is. I'm not worthy. I'm not as good looking as Ankush. I don't think that's true, by the way. But it's like, it could be any dialogue you can think of. We all have that. And being aware of it is so important, because it's so easy to sweep it under the rug and push it aside. But it's really learning about how to bring that love, that presence, that forgiveness, to look it in the eye. I think Dorothy Martin, I don't know where you were or where you are, but earlier last week, she said the process is like bringing your demons into the sunlight. You've got to bring this into the sunlight and just be aware of what's driving, what's the language, what's the creation, what's the legacy stuff there. Because the minute you can see it, you start seeing who you are, and everything you're not begins to fall away. So it's beautiful and it's fun. I know it sounds like it's actually really fun, and we're going to bring a lot of Garyness and Raghavness to this today.
The thing with judgment, and we spent the afternoon talking about this, and this is the thing. We know that self-judgment isn't great, but it's so prevalent. All of my life, I've had a sadness. It was just there, and I only realized after working with Steve and after just taking time, the sadness was I just hated myself. I judged myself for everything. And the power of the documents that you will be recreating, I recreate mine every day, but I come from the place of what is going on in here and here that just pops up. The judgments of that person is this, that is there, he's that, I'm no good. All I do, and we spoke about this, all that I do in every moment in my presence, I follow my breath, thought comes up, and I clean, and I clean. I forgive myself for judging myself that I'd have a terrible thought like that. And in the presence of cleaning, when I am clean, I can be in front of any one of you, but I have nothing left. So I'm not the guy that doesn't judge, because I do. Everyone does. What I am is the guy that admits the humanity of me being me with my preferences and all that garbage. I don't want that garbage anymore. All I want to do is just love me and love my wife and love my kids. And from that place, I can be able to unite to something greater than myself, and I don't know what it is, God, source, something. But in that moment, when I connect with that, and I'm united with that, anything I do will never, ever fail, even if it doesn't succeed. This is the thing. If I can be loving, no matter what, and face up to the things going on inside of me when I'm not that comfortable and I shrink. But I tell you, the time spent with Raghav, the people that we met, everyone was friendly to us. Everyone was kind to us. We got things we weren't expecting. We had so much fun. And this was the first time we met in person.
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, that day was special. I was just at the end of it, melting away and being in such a beautiful space because we focused so much on, the power of forgiveness, the power of love. And one of the things I've learned is that you can only be a document to the extent you love and forgive yourself. You can only be a document to the extent you love and forgive yourself. Because yesterday I had a moment, actually, and I'll share this.
That's exactly what we wanted to do. This thing, us being together at breakfast, something happened, and this is the dialogue, I guess, we're having it.
Yeah.
Something happened, he told me what happened, and he goes, I'm just gonna be okay with it, but please continue. Like, it was beautiful, and a miracle occurred through our time together, and we weren't coaching each other, we weren't even planning this thing, we were just having fun at a fantastic Indian restaurant, being together. Mm-hmm. But please share.
So which moment are you talking about? Because I was talking about the one yesterday. Because there's so many moments.
No, it is yesterday.
Yesterday.
But, I mean, it's actually all the time. It's now.
All the time.
It's now.
Yeah.
Let's sit down.
Cool. There's just so many moments. Like, which one out of the 55 would you like me to speak to? So yesterday as I was coming
all 55.
Here, all 55. Okay, well, I kind of bribed Rose, so she's going to give us extra time. So yesterday as I was coming here, something really cool happened. And this week has been synchronicity o'clock, like the craziest synchronicities, to the point there's been so many synchronicities in 1 week. I'm just saying to the universe, could you not have planned it a different week while this is going on? So there's just so many things that happen, and one of which is my dream to take what I do and work with the Indian cricket team and to be the mental game conditioning coach. So Becky, when we were heading up in the lift on Wednesday, I apologize if I seemed like it disappeared, because I'm talking to Becky, and in the lift comes the Pakistan cricket captain. And I'm just standing there like, I'm mentally thinking, Becky, I'm so sorry right now, I can't see you. I'm just like, no way. And he's one of the most humblest, sweetest guys. And he gets out of the lift, I'm thinking, this is strange. The next morning I come down, there's the former Indian cricket head coach that won the World Cup. And I'm just thinking, okay, I get it, right? Let me do something about this. So I hadn't thought about this, I hadn't planned it. I just went up to him and I was like, hey, Gary, he's also called Gary. I just realized that, Gary. Okay, I get it. So, yeah, I understand. I cannot confirm nor deny I was very sleep deprived that night and that morning, so it kind of clicked now. So I went up to the guy and I just had a chat and I said, thank you for what you've done for India, blah, blah, blah. I walked away and I was on the car coming here and I was like, I missed the gold. I completely missed the gold because if I'm honest, how I showed up was tired, very high in caffeine, sleep deprived rag who was like, oh, thank you, whatever. I forgot to tell the guy who I was. I forgot to do that. I forgot to remind the guy what time it is. So in my head, I was thinking, I would love to go back in time and see him, or when I next see him, / stalk him, I didn't say that, when I see him, because he's still going to be at the hotel, I would want to say, Gary, sir, I forgot to tell you who I am. And he's going to think, like, why is this guy apologizing? This is interesting, because no guy goes up to him, they're always like, oh, Gary. I'll be like, Gary, I've got to apologize to you. I forgot to tell you who I am. You've inspired me to be this mental game coach for the cricket world. I've been in touch with an IPL team this season. We're looking at next season, et cetera, et cetera. Because he actually also is the head coach for an IPL team. So this is an opportunity. I stepped over the gold. So I could have been judging myself, and I was about to yesterday, and then that scene from the Black Panther kicked in my head. I don't know if you guys have seen the Black Panther, but you know when they trick the FBI guy when he goes to Wakanda, and they're like, oh, you got to bow and whatever. So this FBI guy gets tricked that when he sees the king of Wakanda, he's got to bow, he's got to whatever. When he meets the king, he starts doing all of this. And the king goes, whoa, we don't do that here. Yeah, so I heard the judgment, I'm like, whoa, we don't do that here anymore, right? We're kind of done with that. That's not the culture here or what goes on inside. So in the morning, I forgive myself for judging myself that I fucked up. I forgive myself for judging myself that I did stupid whatever. I went through that and I cleansed, and then I created a new possibility, because I can't live in a new possibility if I'm judging myself, and I wouldn't be present with you wonderful, beautiful people. So I want to go inside and I want to cleanse that. So rather than judging, I was like, we don't do that anymore. It's so last season. And when I'm judging myself, I'm like half good looking. So I'm like, I've got to make sure that I'm going to be my best. This is the standard this year. So I refuse to judge myself. I made a decision that I refuse. It's not happening. It's not going down. Never again. That was so last season. It does not look so good this season, that fashion wear. Take it off. You don't have to do it. It's a simple choice. I refuse to judge myself. And that was massive. So yesterday I came back to the hotel. I'm talking to Gary, and then Gary sees me disappear. And I said, Gary, I'm going to go and create a miracle. So I saw the Pakistan cricket team sitting around, and this guy, he's going to be the #1 bowler in the world, right? So I'm walking up, and I'm talking to Ankush, and I'm kind of doing this. Ankush is here, and I'm like, hey, Kush. I'm like behind the pillar a little bit, seeing them. He's like, Raghav, what the hell are you doing? And I was saying to Kush, there's a Pakistan cricket team. Go and say hello. And I was like, right, I've got to think about this. He said, what would Steve say if he was here? I was like, oh man, I know what Steve would say. It's 2 words. Steve likes to tell me wake up, but not wake up, Rag. It's often a lot louder than that. So I know exactly what Steve would say to me. And I was like, yeah, I know what Steve, and Uncle's like, I'm not even going to give you the Steve stuff. I'm just telling you, don't step over the gold. I'm like, done. So yesterday I went and had a chat with the Pakistan cricket players, just casually. I just walked up and I'm like, hey, did you guys win? And we were just gone on like friends. We were talking yesterday. And they're like, where are you from? And they're the most humble people as well. Like, so sweet. So this is what I kind of do. I just go up to cricketers these days, and I'm like, hey, let's hang. How's it going? And I said, I'd love a picture with you at the end. And they all got up and like, yeah, let's do a selfie. And they're really sweet, right? It was amazing. And I've realized it's so much easier in reality than in your mind. Your judgment is never accurate. Nothing in your mind is the truth. The mind is irrelevant. It's not even 1% close to reality. So I disappeared, told Gary, I'm going to go and create a miracle. And then I said, hey guys, do you read by any chance? Because apparently there's this book on being that I thought would be really cool. And they were saying, oh no, we're terrible students, we don't read, whatever. And Kush said, so in fact, I'd asked these guys, just out of curiosity, how do you stay on top of your mental game? And they go, oh, we got a mental game coach. I said, oh, fantastic. So I asked, and at least I found out they've got someone in place. Great. Kush said, actually, Rag, why don't you go up and ask to give that coach the copy of The Ultimate Coach? So I did. I grabbed one of the players, and this guy's an extraordinary guy. He's like one of the fastest bowlers in the world. And I said, hey, look, I'd love to give your coach a copy of The Ultimate Coach. And the player, I think he was tired. He was like, look, it's not going to be like no kind of thing. And internally, I went back to Ankush. I was like, cool. And he goes, great, you asked, right? It's about doing the thing, because that's what expands you. I didn't care if I got yes or no. I'm like, yeah, I just go up to cricketers these days. I just offer them books. I hang out with best buds. That's like normal for me now. So it's just like, it can be easy. And that all happened because I cleaned up the judgment, and I just went in and I created a possibility. And I came back to Gary, really excited, like a kid who's just been out of a toy store. But all of that happened just in the span of yesterday.
There's...
Yeah. You've got 10 minutes.
There's something so powerful in what Raghav is sharing. This is the thing that may or may not be swept in the rug, under the rug, but for me, this is everything, what he shared, because how many times does something happen, you're like, oh, I messed up. Or some emotion hits you and you're not present, and then you lose hours with your wife and kids, hours in a room like this, self-conscious about what you're not. What I'd love is when you create your document, the words are powerful, but they're only as powerful when you speak them from your heart in self-forgiveness. What Raghav shared, that was heavy. He shared with me. We were talking and I could feel the heaviness. I did the cleaning within me for his heaviness. And then he did the cleaning within him, so it wasn't a deal anymore. It wasn't a deal breaker. And a miracle happened. So what I want for every one of you, as you're creating your document, all the document is when you wash away the junk, that's what's left, but more junk always comes. Be powerful with the junk, because the junk is the stuff. I always say your shit is your gold. It's the only reason why I'm here. It's the only reason why I flew here, to tell you this, that the small moments matter. In that story, that's everything. So from this, Raghav rose to another level, And anywhere that he goes, nothing's going to get in the way of what matters to him. That's everything.
You know, one reason that really drove home that I love, it's actually linked to what Uncle said about Steve yesterday, about how relatable Steve is. And it's the same with yourself, because I was meeting Gary at the Hyatt, and Gary for me is like a really cool guy who's so chilled, so zen. I'm thinking I would love to be like this guy who's on cloud nine all the time, and he's just got it together. And Gary was saying, Rag, I clean all the time. I was like, no way. He's like, yeah, I clean all the time. And that was profound for me, because I thought when you get to a certain level of being, you just have it all figured out, and everything is like ponies and dandelions and all that sort of stuff. Because Gary, like, because he embodies, the reason I feel that about Gary is he actually lives this stuff. He's always cleaning. So I thought, wow, that's amazing. And as Gary pointed that out, guess what the universe does? It gives me lots of cleaning this week. Thank you very much. And that's kind of what's happened this week. Loads of cleaning. I've seen opportunities for cleaning. And it's just so beautiful how you've embraced it, because you've created an extraordinary family. I know that's one of your things you're so proud of. And that's because of your authenticity and the way you've stayed the path, and you've cleaned and you've cleaned and you've cleaned, and you've never made it personal. You've just kept giving yourself love whenever you notice any judgment. And it's simple, and it's easy, but it's not simple. It's that spotting it and sort of, you just love yourself for everything. And it's just, that's what's created this week.
It's beautiful. The other thing that I really want to share with you all, my life ain't perfect. I ain't perfect. You ask my kids, because they know. But the one thing that I learned, and Steve got me to go to Landmark, and I said I'd never go. We did 3 sessions on that stuff, but I tell you, when I learned about being authentic with your inauthenticity, I was set free. So my kids get the real me, you get the real me. Whatever I post pictures of what I like. You like it, fine, you don't, but I like my life. But I ain't perfect. But I forgive myself for judging myself for the imperfection, for when I'm tired and crabby, or when my kids act out not in the best way, and it doesn't make me look like a good parent. For 2 years, my radical commitment in Tokyo has been my wife and children and my clients. But anything else, that's all that I wanted. And in 2 years, I got to walk hand in hand with my now 11-year-old son. He's 11 and holds my hand through Tokyo as we go to his kanji writing class. He says, Daddy, look at these buildings. Like, how did they design this? Then we'd go into the Bear Bricks store. It's a Japanese toy store. If you see, I post these little things. And every time we go, we can get a collectible. And we have all of them. I have them in my hotel room. It reminds me. I remember when I got that one. I remember taking Kona on the train to her English academy class so they can keep up in English. All I remember in 2 years is my wife and children. That's what matters. So yes, go for your dreams. Yes, run marathons, run 7, run 100. Don't miss out on this moment. Clean, clean, clean. Then when you say, I am infinite stillness, born in ease and flow, I am pure connection to the all-powerful, and we create what I want, and I always get what I desire. I'm generous and warm-hearted. I mean it. I always know what to say and what not to say. I always know what to do and how to do it. I mean that too. I'm forever at play. I live in the mystery and I create from the unknown. I mean it. And do I worry? Yep. Do I wake up in the middle of the night at 2? Often. And then do I have some scares and traumas coming up? Yep. That ain't pretty. It's not cute. That's swept under the rug. It's not all wow. My life isn't wow. It's simple. But when those things come, I clean and I clean and I clean, because I know that stuff comes from self-judgment. And when I clean in the middle of the night and I wake up, guess what? I'm ready for my clients, my wife, and my kids. And I do it over and over and over and over again. So when you have your document, this slowing down is an invitation to everything you learned yesterday, why you're really, 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 really here. And we want to set the stage for what's coming next. so that you can be so present. And if you've got an idea, this is boring, this is taking too long, I'm hungry, clean, clean, clean. Be present, present, present. And you're going to get the best experience. It'll be your experience, but it won't be overshadowed with your ideas of how it should be, but you'll love how it is. And you'll love you how you are. And I know, one last thing. We talked to Cohen about Kona, and you said, Gary, we are going to love the shyness out of Kona. My wife was so worried. For 2 years in Tokyo, Kona has been the life of the party. We've moved school 4 times. The grade 7s know her and the kindergartens know her. Everyone comes, everyone loves Kona. She's taken some of Gary, some of Kanako, and she's just happy and she's found herself. And that came from 15 minutes of a 2-hour session where I brought my son, and you asked Cohen, how's Kona? And he goes, oh, she's shy. And you picked up on it and you said, we're going to love the shyness out of that little girl. So I didn't ever let people say, oh, Kona's shy. I said, maybe, but she's my little guru. She's always attentive. We created that clean, clean, clean.
That's beautiful, Gary, and I know we haven't got a lot of time left, so 2 minutes. So one of the biggest things that's helped me, and Kush, a lot of my friends in here, that they've helped me with a lot of my work over the last few years, and at times they pointed that I was wearing a mask in my life, and that's because I had so much judgment. And what I've seen is that if you can create that internal loving, cleaning culture, you'll discover everything you are beyond this physical Halloween outfit we get to wear called humanity. You get to discover the real essence. Because what I've seen, even for me, and it took me a journey to realize it, is I had my document's like over here, where you've got that I am this, I am this, I am this, and you're saying a document, but internally you're like, well, no, I shouldn't have these thoughts. They're terrible, they're uncomfortable. How do I get rid of them? It's the question that a lot of us coaches ask first. How do I get rid of these thoughts? If you're trying to get rid of them, then you are not loving them. You are not separate to your thoughts. You are in your thoughts. So, like, I created intentionally in my document, and my number one line is, I am in love with what is always. I will be in love with everything I experience. Now, do I do it all the time? No. But when I don't, I clean. But that's the journey. It's about the cleaning. It's not about the perfection. It's about the cleaning. And you've embodied that really well for me over a nice Indian lunch and onwards. And the Wednesday we had, the phone call we had, all of this. It's been bliss.
And this thing came about because we met in Mumbai for less than 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And then a bit later he said, do you want to come to this event? And I'm thinking in my head, not really. Let me talk to my wife. And of course she's like, you got to go. And then
I didn't know that bit, by the way. I didn't know it was a not really.
Well, I really don't like doing this, but I do. But I said, the only way that I'll do it is if you're on stage with me. I'm not going to come prepared with something to tell you, because I don't got anything to tell you. My being is that. That is it. So that's why I'm here. And I've created a brother for life here. I love this man. We took a walk all through London. And if you can just create something so powerful in an instant, and then come without having really anything planned, but have something deeply important to say. And that just came from being together and caring for each other. If that can happen, anything can happen for you. Nothing is impossible.
So Matt Evans really likes me right now, and I want to keep it that way, because I can, any moment, he's going to rugby tackle us off the stage, if I'm correct. So I think we've got to conclude. Okay. But that was amazing. I loved it.